I'm Nikola. I'm co-founder of DragonSwap. We started as a native MM on the Chain network, and we're expanding towards basically first chain abstracted infra for traders and retail as well. And that's where the name of my presentation comes, like seamless Web3, building a mass market lab layer. I'll start from addressing the problems basically and how we decided to move from AMM into something different. But what we can see is like fragmented chains. Liquidity is so much fragmented across many L1s and L2s. Probably L3s and L4s. We'll see soon as well. And that makes a huge inefficiency even in terms of like yielding the assets. Then we're having like multiple wallets issue where most of the people I know, and even myself, I'll use a couple of different wallets, cold wallets, hot wallets, so taxes and whatnot. So kind of like I feel there are rare people who can access their funds from like one UI or whatever, which is also painful. Then we have confusing gas for, I would say, for all the crypto native people. We got used to deal with the gas issues and then like funding the new accounts and new chains, adding RPCs to MetaMask and whatever. But I also feel any kind of like not degenerate person will struggle to do this without so many failures or getting scammed. I mean, we witness that very often, and that's just because it's so complicated. So it's super easy to scam somebody. Then we have the clunky UX as well. I can say the whole crypto UX is broken basically, and all the apps we use now are not giving us anything close to Web2 user experience still. As much as it's getting much better. Like I remember the days on ETH when you wanted to swap on like Uni or back then it was Kyber network, and it's like $100 for a swap, and you wait like 30 seconds or like 1 minute to get it done. Now things are much faster, so I think we're still suffering from that trauma. And now we're like, oh, it's great. It's like 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, and then like a couple of block settlements, whatever. But I feel it's still very painful. And then like the last problem I see is seed phrases as well, where kind of like you create a wallet and you get something, and you're like, what do you do with this? How do I keep it? Where do I save it? Etc. Etc. I feel this overall is kind of. Oh, I'm sorry. It's probably okay. I feel this is all caused because of like the UX is very bad, and we need to still build forward and give people much more convenient solutions for this, and eventually make sure you can onboard like 10-year-old kid as well as like 70-year-old person like in less than a minute to okay, what is Bitcoin or whatever, I want to buy it, and like then the whole process from on ramping from credit card and just like clicking, okay, I want to swap, or actually I want to buy like with $100 a Bitcoin or any asset. It should be like seamless, Face ID or like any passkey or 2FA, and that's done. All this together, like even though we are used to do those things, so we kind of like live with them. It reminds me of basically 90s, like dial up, and then you pick an ISP, keep spare modems and whatever, pay by the minute. And all this is kind of like reminding me of 90s, or you want to play World of Warcraft or something, and your granny is speaking on the phone. You're like, just shut it down because I need my internet to be live. Those are all the problems we see, right? And I think that's the biggest issue why we still don't have mass adoption and basically real retail flowing into crypto. I would say that right now, I can say that with confidence that like I would call all those things like botnet, and I believe there is 98 or even 99% of traffic volume and whatever is done by bots, either arbitrage market making bots or like just wash or whatever. But there is no adoption, there is no retail. That's the reality. Retail is going to be once we go down the street and every person uses that, or you call your buddy and you're like, oh, can you send me $100? And it's been done in a second, as like most of even the banks do it right now. Like you can just send to email or whatever, not sending the addresses. How a regular person can check some an address and make sure, oh, I copied this properly or whatever. So I feel those are like main barriers we have is like wallet complexity. Everywhere we see gas tokens, bridges and fragmented liquidity, and too much cognitive overhead. Wallet complexity, I think I explained already with all the like any kind of wallets. Like either right now what I really want to give kudos to that is like the embedded wallets that are doing a lot of this job for us, like Privy, Dynamic, etc., We tried some of them. We even worked with them, and it's really changing the UX. Now, still, everybody's going to question the security, but I believe as long as there is convincing security, we'll be fine. Why I'm saying this is because as well, when you're using like Facebook or whatever, you really don't care if it's on, hosted on Google or AWS or somewhere else. What you need is like, oh, I believe this is safe. And I think we need this in crypto, and that kind of like trust is lost with so many like, oh, my private key is exposed, my C phrase, I woke up into drained account and, whatnot. So it's kind of like that leads us to the solution of all this, and that's abstraction. Like we need to abstract all the things away from the end user, but make sure he's safe and he still has trust. So like just like broadband unlock the internet, we believe abstraction will unlock the Web3. Now that translates us as the main infra we are building on. When we started building, we chosen Say as basically as infrastructure, convenient to build something new, novel, and definitely give much better UX than possible on other L1s. I would say we compared with most of the L1s and L2s, and kind of like there hasn't been a better chain that can like fit all our needs. And our needs were just like, it's like very simple. It was like just let's give traders the best decentralized like UX and execution layer. That's it. Like you want to stay decentralized, you want to hold your keys, you don't want to get like any sex approaches, and you just want to get like a best execution and UX. Now, I think Say as an infra gives us this in terms of like, payment rails, instant settlement. I mean, fees are basically converging to zero, card present. Like that gives us, I feel like that card present feel where you just like swipe your card or just like face IDing with Apple Pay and it's done. Like there is no loaders and whatever. And that like, leads us to the future plans of like RWAs and TradFi integration with like, again, like clean execution, audibility, custody friendly rails, which is, easier compliance bridges as well. Moving forward, we'll get to institutional grade infra, which is what we're trying to run the narrative like it's trades settle faster on DragonSwap, and we really want to build the Wall Street grade execution layer for decentralized trading. I don't think we'll be anytime soon ready to accommodate like real degenerates who are like trading with like 50x leverages or whatever, sniping meme coins and stuff. But I feel we can get a very convenient solution for any retail person who just want like a zero hassle, hold his keys and stay decentralized. Why, as I said, why if you feel like Say as the foundation fits the role, it's definitely fast finality, tap to confirm UX, cost efficiency. Like there is no, I believe, again, like everybody who is in Web3, he's like used to pay $1 to $3 for the gas fees, or like even $0.50, doesn't matter. But real people don't. Like for them, it's what the fuck I'm paying. Sorry for my vocabulary here, but it's like, what am I paying here? Like, people will used to call the banks and be like, why I got like fee of 0.1% on my like merchant transaction or whatever. And that just doesn't scale. So we need even to be able to scale it down close to zero. And then on like back of protocol, abstract it away from user. So we make some viable economy that like users don't have to cover this. So they get like gas abstracted or included gas into their trade itself or whatever. But, I don't think we can run the narrative of like, oh, it's like, 3 cents, it's super cheap. It's cheap for almost everybody here, but it's not for real users. And definitely the last thing is scalability for mobile first apps with high throughput, parallelized execution and whatnot. I would say we're used to use like desktop apps in crypto, and I think all other apps we use on mobile. I personally accept Web3 applications. I'll use almost everything on my mobile phone unless it's Google Drive or something where I have to type and use keyboard, which I feel is another blocker for a lot of users who are not text oriented. Where if you're a text user, you trade on the go. You don't care where you are. You set your orders and you're kind of like settled. But the biggest problem with being a tax user is like you don't hold your keys. I personally got a couple of even like things where my funds were blocked for either you entered to the fraud rule for traveling from IP here to IP here, and then like 2 days of dealing with customer support to get unfrozen or this or that. And that kind of like shows that any central authority can still block your funds. So we need decentralized solution, decentralized approach to keeping your funds, keeping your custody. In my opinion, passkeys are the most convenient thing right now, or using centralized services such as Google or whatever as the auth method. And that's probably the easiest way of onboarding masses. Now that translates to, again, what I mentioned previously. We tried doing this with Privy and with a couple of more embedded wallet providers, and it was really great. The UX was much better, and overall look and feel dramatically changed. Now, touch base from how we started and where we are heading, which is basically where we are led with this presentation. With DragonSwap V1, we started with like a memetic AMM culture-driven approach. When we started building with Say, it was alongside their EVM, parallelized EVM announcement. Most of their community was Asian, so we also started with like Asian approach, which was Dragonized, whatever, Japanese, etc., where most even of our users are still right now in the Asia. And it was like kind of a memetic approach, more like pancake swap vibes than anything which is close to TradFi or whatever. And right now with all those chain abstraction things and basically our shift towards building something for basically TradFi, building much more serious infra and basically abstracting everything from user, we are shifting towards more like TradFi style design, which is more convenient. I think brings in more trust. I feel that's like what Uniswap is doing as well. And I'll always say Uni is not comparable to any other team building in DEX area, and we like admit that. But Uni gives us also a lot of like learning, fasters our learning curves on some stuff. So we decided to go with, as I said, chain abstraction, and we want to make sure that we incorporate more and more the intent solver infra, rather than just building some current solutions which are integrating and built on top of current protocols, and then like still getting those either time problems or like you wanna you wanna deposit to your checks and they don't accept deposits from Say, so you have to bridge from Say through Stargate or CCTP or whatever to ETH or a base or something, and that process takes time. So we were like, we want to abstract that away. We want users to think only about this is my intent, and there are solvers who are going to handle that. There is, of course, fee in those things, but usually when fee gets included into the quote, etc., that becomes invisible for most of the users because those fees are peanuts usually. Basically, we want to like, I feel personally we need mass adoption with crypto again, and that will have I think this is marathon first of all, and this is going to be probably a very interesting topic for the next couple of years. I don't think anyone is going to build a solution that will win the masses. I think there's going to be more solutions, and still, same as we have now, we have like whatnot number of DEXs, whatnot number of money markets and whatever. And then still there's going to be like a single protocol which is going to win this market. But I feel most of the trading apps are going to take this as a focus, especially with as well as the funds who are holding like yield bearing assets. They should be able to move those assets much faster and like just seize yield opportunities on different chains, not knowing where they are, which is part of this mass adoption. Like, we have a fund that sits on like XYZ $1 million of USDT. Today, the best rate is on Banky on AVAX, but tomorrow it's Aave on some other chain. So we should be able to move those things much faster with intense solver infra than right now. I believe even now with like higher 7 digits bridges, there is no liquidity on most of the assets. So it's another painful thing. And then the fees and whatnot. So kind of it loses point. Like I got recently, like this is the good example. I got recently, my friend works in Web2 industry, and they raised like 25 million euros on like, the first round they did basically. And they were like, oh, we want to like basically see what we can do with idle money, put it to work. And I was like, I know there's a lot of crypto dealers. And I was like, yeah, but the cost of you onboarding this money into crypto and then pulling it out, and then the yield rates, which are like few percent on stable assets, it's like you're going to be break even almost. So this is what has to be changed. Like, people should be able to easily AP in any amount of money into, of course, safe and like, trusted protocols, but the way they do it should be abstracted. So I'm not saying here we're going to build new Aave, new Uni or whatever. No, we're just going to make sure that users can tap into those super safe protocols, safe and much faster, much cheaper and much faster by leveraging this infrastructure. We see those things as basically, everyday users should be sending payments, and I think that's going to be the first thing where we'll be like, oh, okay, something is changing in crypto. Like, two friends or somebody's here, somebody's there, and I want to send you $100, and that just happens instantly. I know there are like even Web2 protocols who do this, like Revolut or whatever, but it's still very limited. Like Web3, everybody can access any asset wherever, and he can just do it. And even the truth is, like, if I sent you USDT from address A to B on same chain, it's going to happen in like almost no time. But do I have asset on that chain where you need it, etc., and where I'm sending it to you? And it's still the painful process. Like, I need to have usually my computer with myself. I need to sign some stuff, whatever, and it takes a lot of time. If it's bank and within the same country, it'll take much less. It'll be like, microseconds of myself typing in my friend's email or whatever, and just wiring the payment of whatever, like $50-100, just lands immediately with my Face ID. I think this is what we want to see as thing one. Then definitely RWA is integrated seamlessly. And that translates us into like yield accessible without a DeFi learning curve. This is exactly the problem I mentioned, the real use case, which I was approached from a friend, and it was like, you need a learning curve to access DeFi. Because if you don't, like, the chance of getting either like sandwiched, hacked, or any other like exploit, it's huge. So that leads us to like what we're building. We're building the app layer on top of infra, which is the Rails. DragonSwap is a retail gateway. Impact, we feel if there is lower barrier to entry, there is going to be much more liquidity in Web3. I don't think now we are lacking with liquidity, but I think still we are. Like, for most of the retail use cases, we don't, and I believe Uni or any other like tier 1 protocol can satisfy even huge trades without slippage. Even we on like Say Network can handle probably like $100,000-$200,000 trades on like the major assets without experiencing some slippage, but that's still not good enough because there is still barrier for millions of dollars to flow in without barriers. We need better UX, sticky users, and definitely we need a mass market narrative, which is like things move faster, things should move faster. That's probably the Wi-Fi SSID we got here, which was like dollar, and ACC, which was like money acceleration term, where we think like money should move faster. And right now, this is even the SAYS narrative, which is the edge over all other competitive chains. We need to like, this is probably leads us to the end of the chat, and we want to onboard next 100 million users. Basically, those are the screenshots from our application DSX, which is currently in beta, and which really works based on like Face ID stuff or social logins, where you can do things seamlessly. Like, I don't agree that's still good enough to go and pitch like real, either like, capital funds or whatever, and be like, would you use this to ape into crypto, to LP into Aave or Morpho or something like that? I don't think so, but I think we are getting there. But I feel it's like that has to feel invisible. Like, we need that layer, which is like basically making for the end user invisible everything except what he wants to do. And that's like either send money to someone, get yield opportunity somewhere, which all I want to know is like, what's the protocol, which I believe gives trust still and differentiates between like Aave and then other protocols in money markets, as an example, where we will see most of the funds going there, or like uni forks, and then like custom MMs, which are probably not battle tested yet, etc. So I believe that has a weight for the end users and doesn't require a lot of learning curve. Even the numbers speaks for themselves. And like the last thing is just like being able to seamlessly use this. One click, it's there. No need for any other stuff. I know there's going to be a lot of legal barriers here for the bigger players to join the market, but that's not something we can handle, unfortunately. So I hope we see a lot of legal slash regulatory movements as well in this area. Basically, that's almost everything from my side. I'm keen to answer any questions if there are any.
Questions? Do we have any questions? We're good with that? Okay. Let's get this covered. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.